What if the one thing you're doing to feel more in control is actually the very thing stealing your peace? We chase order plan every hour, expect life to obey our scripts, yet the more we grasp for certainty, the more it slips through our fingers. Have you ever stopped to wonder why calm always feels just out of reach, no matter how hard you try? Now imagine being thrown into a situation where control is gone entirely, where even your next breath isn't promised, and pain is a daily ritual. Would you crumble, or would you find something deeper to hold on to? That's exactly what happened to a man named James Stockdale, and his story might just shatter everything you think you know about strength. Because true power, as you'll see, isn't about domination or intensity. It's about clarity in chaos, stillness in storms. And in this journey, we're going to uncover the ancient Stoic truths that help James survive hell and that can help you build the same unshakable calm no matter what life throws at you. Ready to begin? Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control every detail of your life, the more it seems to unravel? You rush, you plan, you push with all your strength, only to watch things fall apart anyway. It's frustrating, even exhausting. But what if real strength doesn't come from forcing control, but from something far more powerful? Calm. In this video, we're going to explore 11 powerful lessons from Stoic philosophy that can help you stay calm under pressure. And use that calm as your most valuable advantage. And no, this isn't just another list of feel-good quotes or abstract ideas. These are timeless strategies tested over centuries by the Stoics themselves that can genuinely transform the way you think, feel, and act. So, are you ready to learn how inner stillness can become your greatest source of strength? Then let's begin. But before we dive into these lessons, I want to tell you a story. It's the true story of James Stockdale, a man who faced one of the harshest trials any human could endure, and who survived it not because of brute force or luck, but because of the clarity and calm he found in Stoic philosophy. James was a U.S. Navy pilot trained for the most high-risk scenarios imaginable. He was sharp-focused and in full command of his aircraft, his missions, and every decision he made in the air. But all of that changed in an instant during the Vietnam War. One mission, one moment. His plane was hit. Everything he had control over vanished in seconds. The sky turned against him. His jet spiraled down. There was no time to think, only instinct, only the sound of rushing air and the sudden impact of reality. He ejected parachuting into hostile territory, and even before he touched the ground, he knew he was about to face something far worse than any crash. He was captured immediately, beaten severely, dragged like an animal through the dirt. He wasn't treated like a soldier. He wasn't even treated like a man. They took him to a prisoner of war camp where his true battle began. They chained him, isolated him, tortured him physically and mentally. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into 7 long, brutal years. Not 7 days, not 7 weeks. 7 years locked in a small cell, cut off from the world, uncertain if he would ever feel sunlight on his skin again. Many others in his position crumbled. Some gave in, some lost themselves. But James didn't. And it wasn't because he was the strongest physically. It wasn't about muscle or toughness. What made him unbreakable was something deeper: his control over his own mind. He had studied Stoicism, and while imprisoned, he clung to a single idea. It's not the event itself that destroys us, but how we respond to it. He couldn't stop the torture. He couldn't stop the isolation. But he could control what it meant to him. He couldn't walk out of the prison, but he could hold on to something no one could steal: his mindset. So he made a choice. He refused to give in. He became the quiet leader of his fellow prisoners, creating a secret code to communicate to keep their spirits alive. He taught them how to resist without shouting, how to endure without breaking. And every day, as his captors tried to destroy his identity, he silently repeated one truth to himself: "This does not define me. I am stronger than this." And he was. He made it through. After 7 years, he walked out of that camp with his dignity intact. When asked how he survived such horror, his answer was as simple as it was profound. "I accepted my reality, but I never lost faith in my ability to rise above it." That's what James Stockdale understood and what the Stoics teach us all. Now, let's take that wisdom and begin uncovering the first lesson that will help. After hearing James Stockdale's powerful story, it becomes clear that our greatest strength doesn't come from changing our circumstances, but from mastering our response. So now let me ask you, what's stealing your calm today? Is it a conflict at work, a misunderstanding with someone close to you, or maybe just one of those days where everything seems to spiral out of control? If James could find stillness in the midst of unimaginable suffering, then so can you. Because no matter how chaotic life becomes, there's always one thing you can control: your response. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. Together, we'll learn how to develop this mindset and turn calm into your most powerful weapon. But before we dive into the practical tools, if you're finding value in this content, consider subscribing and becoming part of this growing community. Drop us a comment and tell us, what does staying calm in a chaotic world mean to you? Or simply type, "I am Stoic." We'd love to hear your thoughts and grow stronger with you. Let's begin with the first and most fundamental truth: calm is your greatest weapon. Picture this. You're a Formula One driver. The engine is roaring. Your grip tightens on the wheel, and the track ahead is blazing under the afternoon sun. You're seconds away from the finish line, your heart pounding with focus. Suddenly, you hit a tight corner, and the car begins to slide. In that instant, everything changes. You feel the tires losing grip. The control you had a second ago begins to vanish. You're faced with two choices. The first, panic. React without thinking. Let fear take the wheel. And just like that, you find yourself spinning off the track race, lost. But the second choice, stay calm. Feel every movement of the car, every shift beneath you, and instead of forcing control, you work with the moment. You ease your foot off the gas, guide the wheel, gently regain traction, and keep moving forward. The best drivers in the world aren't just the fastest. They're the ones who remain composed when the track gets wild. They don't resist the chaos, they navigate it. And life is no different. It's not about avoiding every curve or bump, it's about responding with clarity when those moments appear. Look closely at the people who thrive under pressure: leaders, creators, athletes. They all share one thing. They don't let panic make their decisions. They stay steady. Ryan Holiday, in his book The Obstacle is the Way, calls this kind of presence a strategic advantage. Real strength, he says, isn't in speed or brute force, but in calm, deliberate action when the world feels like it's crashing down. This isn't just philosophical. There's science behind it too. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something disturbs you, it's not the thing itself, but your judgment about it. And modern neuroscience agrees. When we react in anger or fear, it's the amygdala that's calling the shots, that part of the brain hardwired for survival, but not for long-term thinking. But when we stay calm, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational thought strategy and wise decision-making. A study from the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience in London revealed that people who learn to maintain calm under pressure not only experience less stress, but also make better long-term decisions. They don't act on emotion, they act on insight. They don't just survive tough moments, they use them to grow. Now maybe you're thinking, sure, that all sounds great, in theory. But how do you actually do this when life throws something unexpected at you? When you feel like you're about to lose control? How do you stay centered? Well, that's exactly where we're headed next. Let's explore 2 practical techniques that can train your mind to remain calm no matter what the world throws your way. Earlier, we talked about the power of staying calm, not just in the big storms of life, but in the little annoyances too. Because true calm isn't something you suddenly summon when everything's falling apart. It's a habit built in everyday moments. And now let's take that further with a mental exercise that trains you to separate emotion from reaction. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a frustrating situation, something that really gets under your skin. But instead of being the one inside the storm, you step outside of it. Picture yourself not as the person going through it, but as an outsider watching it unfold like a scene in a movie. You're not the actor, you're the audience. What advice would you give to the main character? What would you say they should do to handle the situation wisely? This simple shift helps create emotional distance and allows you to think more clearly with less heat clouding your judgment. But here's the real secret. You can't wait for a crisis to begin this practice. You have to train your calm like a muscle every single day. Think of it like going to the gym, but for your mind. Let's say you come back from the grocery store, unload your bags, and just when everything seems fine, your carton of eggs takes a flying leap off the counter and crashes spectacularly onto the floor. What's your first reaction? Probably frustration, maybe a shout, maybe a few words not fit for this video. That's natural, right? But that's also your training ground. Because if something this small, a dozen broken eggs, can throw you completely off balance, what will happen when life hits you with a real challenge? If your mind panics at spilled yolks, how will it handle betrayal, failure, or loss? Calm doesn't magically appear when you need it. It's something you build brick by brick, one small frustration at a time. So ask yourself, do you really want to keep reacting like an amateur driver who loses control at the first unexpected turn? If calm gives you an edge, a clear head, and better decisions, why let every little bump throw you off track? Let's now explore another powerful truth. Can you really control everything in life? We've all had days where things unravel. You wake up with high hopes, a detailed plan, everything scheduled perfectly. Today's the day you'll finish that big project, hit the gym, cook a special dinner, and even squeeze in time to unwind. But then chaos walks in. Your boss throws an urgent task at you that was never in the plan. Your friend cancels dinner at the last minute. You call someone hoping for support, and they hit you with a thoughtless comment that ruins your mood completely. Suddenly, frustration sets in. It's not just that things didn't go as planned, it's that you expected them to. And here's where the deeper problem begins. It's not enough for us to want control over our own lives. We often try to control other people's behavior too. We want them to respond the way we imagined. We expect them to follow our script. But how often does that actually work? Think about it. How many times have you tried to change someone, to convince them to act differently, to understand your point of view, or to stop making the same mistakes? Maybe it's a friend who ignores your advice over and over, a partner who just doesn't see things your way, or parents who worry too much and can't seem to accept your choices. When they don't change, when reality doesn't bend to your will, what happens? Anger, frustration, disappointment. But the real issue isn't the situation itself. It's the belief that you should be able to control it. Naval Ravikant, a well-known thinker and entrepreneur, said it plainly. Suffering comes from the desire to control the uncontrollable. So many of us spend our energy trying to force outcomes, manipulate circumstances, or mold people into who we think they should be. And the more we fight reality, the more stress and frustration we bring upon ourselves. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said the same thing over 2,000 years earlier. Some things are up to us and some are not. Only those who obsess over what they can't control end up suffering. And today, science is beginning to confirm what the Stoics have always taught. In the next section, we'll look at what modern research from Stanford University reveals about uncertainty and how our emotional health depends on how we relate to it. Previously, we explored how clinging to control only fuels anxiety, while embracing uncertainty can lead to resilience and peace. That insight isn't just philosophical, it's been backed by science too. In one powerful study, researchers divided participants into two groups. The first group was given a task where they had complete control over the outcome. The second group faced a task where results depended entirely on outside factors, things they couldn't influence. Afterward, the scientists measured their stress levels, emotional responses, and adaptability. The findings were eye-opening. Those who accepted uncertainty and stopped trying to control everything showed lower anxiety, greater flexibility, and a far more stable emotional state. On the other hand, those who clung tightly to control experienced constant frustration and emotional fatigue. So ask yourself, which group would you fall into? Would you rather stand on the side of those who release what they can't command and thrive in chaos? Or stay stuck with those who keep shouting at the wind, expecting it to change direction? Because here's the truth: life won't always go your way, but the way you move with it or against it changes everything. If you want to build inner stability and stop letting every minor obstacle throw you off course, here are two challenges to try. First, the "so what" challenge. The next time something doesn't go according to plan, pause and ask yourself, so what? Will this still matter in 5 years? You'll be amazed at how often the answer is no. Most of the stress we carry today will barely be a memory tomorrow. Yet we let it consume us in the present. Now for the second challenge, and I'll be honest, this one might make you squirm a bit. It's called controlled chaos. Just once a week, resist the urge to plan everything down to the tiniest detail. Allow your day to unfold naturally. Let go of tight expectations and go with the flow. At first, you may feel uncomfortable, but stay with it. You'll begin to notice something remarkable. Your mind adjusts. You feel lighter, freer, and paradoxically more in control by giving up control. Because life isn't a perfectly paved highway. It's more like sailing across open waters. You can't command the wind or prevent every storm, but you can master your sails. You can choose how to navigate. The direction may shift, the weather may change, but your power lies in how you respond. And that's where true strength is found, not in domination, but in adaptability. And now let's move to a subtle but powerful practice that many overlook, one that rewires your brain and builds emotional strength from the inside out. It all begins with a simple act: gratitude. Previously, we talked about the power of gratitude and how training your mind to focus on the good can rewire your brain and shift your entire emotional state. But that's just the beginning. The question is, how can you actually bring that mindset into your daily routine? You see, most of us go through life thinking, if only I had more money, more time, fewer problems, then I'd finally be at peace. But let's be honest, when has that ever truly been enough? Because no matter what you achieve or how much you gain, there's always something else waiting around the corner. Another goal, another pressure, another thing you think you lack. And while you're running toward those moving targets, what's quietly slipping away is your peace of mind. So here's the challenge. If something as simple as appreciating what you already have can genuinely strengthen your mind and help you stay grounded, then why not start right now? The first step, say thank you out loud the moment you wake up. Not mechanically, not half asleep, but with real energy and intention. Imagine sitting up in bed, stretching your arms wide, and saying it like you mean it. Thank you. It may feel strange at first, maybe even silly, but try it, because that single shift in focus can change the tone of your entire day. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, your brain starts to see what's already present. Second, before you go to sleep, write down 3 good things from your day. And don't fall into the trap of repeating the same answers every night. Dig into the little details, the perfect cup of coffee you didn't expect, a smile from someone in traffic, a joke that made you laugh, even if just for a moment. These small things matter. And if you don't teach your brain to notice them, it will default to noticing only what's wrong. Third, remind yourself every day to focus on what you already have, not on what you think you lack. Life is not a never-ending checklist of unchecked boxes. Because here's the hard truth: if you can't appreciate what you have right now, you won't magically become satisfied even when you have double or triple. The calm you're chasing, the success you dream of, the clarity you need, they don't come from achieving more. They come from shifting the way you see your life. So remember this like a mantra: complaining changes nothing, but gratitude changes everything. And now, let's take it one step deeper, because your thoughts aren't just reflections. They're powerful creators. What you think shapes the world you live in. Let me tell you a story that proves just that. Earlier, we explored how your thoughts shape your life, and how shifting your mindset even slightly can unlock clarity and strength. Now let's dig deeper into that idea, because the greatest battle isn't always out there in the world. Often, it's the one happening quietly, within your own mind. The most powerful shift you can make starts with how you use your thoughts. Instead of dwelling on what might go wrong, imagine training your mind to ask a better question: how can I rise through this? That's what separated Marcus Aurelius, and that's what helped my friend face illness with grace. He didn't waste his strength worrying about the problem. He used that energy to face it, to adapt, to find his next move. That mindset became his anchor, his compass through chaos. And it can become yours too. So how are you using your mind today? Are you directing it toward fear and doubt, or programming it to spot growth and possibility? Here's where the work begins. First, reframe your negative thoughts. Every time you hear yourself thinking, "This is a disaster," or "I can't take this anymore," take a pause. Breathe. Then shift it. Say instead, "This is a challenge, but I'm learning something here," or "It's not easy, but I'll figure it out." This isn't about pretending things are perfect. It's about teaching your mind to search for solutions rather than sinking in problems. Second, protect your environment. Negativity spreads like wildfire. If your circle is full of people who only talk about why things won't work, who constantly complain or wallow in excuses, that energy seeps into your own thinking. But the opposite is also true. When you surround yourself with people who see possibilities, who challenge you, who believe in progress, you rise with them. Energy is contagious. Choose wisely. Third, visualize success before the day even begins. This doesn't mean escaping into fantasy. It means mentally rehearsing yourself responding well to life. Picture yourself keeping calm in a meeting, listening before reacting, walking through stress with composure. Your mind, once it has experienced success, even in thought, becomes more prepared to achieve it in reality. Because at the end of the day, your mind is the lens through which you see the world. When you train it to think clearly, to stay focused, and to believe in action, you begin to attract better results, stronger relationships, and a deeper sense of self. So here's a moment for you. Pause and ask yourself, what exactly do you want to attract into your life? Drop it in the comments, even if it's just a single word. Clarity, courage, calm. Say it with conviction, because everything starts with a thought. Now let's continue, because the next lesson reveals a surprising truth about how your attention, not your circumstances, creates your reality. Ready? Let's dive in. Previously, we talked about how where you place your attention determines the quality of your experience. Now let's take it one step further. What if you began training your attention like a muscle, strengthening it to seek clarity, not chaos? Imagine for a moment that instead of replaying anxious thoughts, you paused and redirected your focus to something that felt meaningful. Maybe a kind word someone said to you today, a task you completed a moment when you felt calm and present. Would your inner state have shifted? Would your day have felt different? That's the power of conscious focus. To begin regaining your calm and sharpening your mental clarity, the first step is a mental diet. Just as you're careful about what you eat, you need to be just as intentional about what you feed your mind. Limit your exposure to negative news. Filter the accounts you follow on social media and ask yourself, does this content uplift me or drain me? Your attention is precious and your mind is a garden. What you water grows. The second step is what we'll call an attention reset. When you notice yourself spiraling into negativity, break the cycle. Literally, change your environment. Go outside. Breathe deeply. Take in your surroundings. Shift your inner dialogue. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what can I learn from this? That single shift can alter the trajectory of your entire day. Third, and this one might be the most important, surround yourself with people whose mindset reflects what you want to become. If you're constantly around people who complain, who focus on the worst, who never offer solutions, it's only a matter of time before you begin to absorb that same outlook. But if you're near those who see challenges as opportunities, who speak of growth, creativity, and purpose, you'll rise with them. Like Epictetus once said, where your attention goes, there is your soul. What you focus on becomes your reality. And if you consistently train your attention toward what empowers you, you'll not only become more focused, but you'll make decisions from a place of strength rather than reaction. Now, there's another truth we must address. Your mind needs space to function well, and that begins with learning to rest. Let's talk about that next. Just as we've explored the importance of resting your mind to regain focus and clarity, the way you end your day holds just as much power as how you begin it. Nighttime is when your mind needs to unplug, recharge, and reset for what lies ahead. So let's start with the first habit: reduce screen time before bed. It may sound like tired advice, but there's real science behind it. The blue light emitted by your phone or tablet tricks your brain into believing it's still daytime. And when your brain thinks the sun is still up, it refuses to wind down. So if your nightly ritual involves watching videos, doom-scrolling social media, or diving into breaking news, don't be surprised if your mind keeps racing long after the lights go out. Give it a break, literally. The second habit is to build a nighttime routine. No need to overcomplicate it. You could read a few pages from a book, jot down a few thoughts in a journal, or simply sit in stillness for 5 minutes. The goal isn't productivity, it's transition. You're signaling to your brain it's time to let go. Over time, your body will recognize the pattern and respond accordingly. It becomes a rhythm, like a gentle wave lulling you to rest. Third, and maybe the most important, listen to your body. If you're feeling drained, don't push through with caffeine and sheer willpower. Stop. Pause. Recover. Rest isn't a sign of laziness. It's a strategy, the same one elite athletes swear by. No marathon runner trains non-stop. They rest, they recharge, and then they return with sharper focus and stronger legs. You too are an athlete in your own life. Your performance, mental, emotional, and physical, depends on your willingness to recover. Believe this: taking a break is not falling behind. It's giving your mind the fuel to go further. Because if you truly want to achieve great things, you don't need more hours of scattered effort. What you need is clarity. What you need is energy. What you need is calm. And one of the most powerful ways to gain all of that, it starts the moment you open your eyes. So let's turn the page and talk about the morning, because how you begin your day might just define everything that follows. Just as we explored how your morning sets the tone for the entire day, it's time to take that clarity one step further. Because once you start the day with intention, the next skill that transforms everything is the power of visualization. The way you see your future in your mind shapes how you experience your present. Have you ever decided you wanted something like a new car and suddenly started seeing it everywhere, on the street, in ads even parked next to you at the grocery store? It feels like the universe is sending you signs, doesn't it? But it's not magic. It's your brain. When you direct your attention towards something specific, your mind tunes in and starts detecting it more often. That's not coincidence. That's selective focus. You activated the filter. And that filter doesn't just apply to cars, it applies to everything. Epictetus captured it perfectly. What you feed your mind becomes your reality. If your thoughts are constantly revolving around obstacles, scarcity, or how difficult everything feels, then that's the world your brain will reflect back to you. But if you shift your focus toward growth, progress, and possibility, your mind will begin working behind the scenes to find those very things. Here's the most fascinating part. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something you actually experience. Visualization expert Roxy Nafouzi explains that when you picture your day with clarity, you're not just dreaming, you're training your brain for success. So let's put this into practice. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your ideal home. Not just the structure, but the feeling of being there. What color are the walls? How does the morning light pour in through the windows? What scent lingers in the air? What music hums softly in the background? Feel yourself walking through that space. Now imagine what it took to build that life not as a fantasy, but step by step. What actions, what habits, what small wins got you there? The more clearly you can see it, the more easily your brain will find the road to reach it. So how do you harness visualization to stay calm and create the life you want? First, write a mental script for your goals. Don't just say, I want to be more confident, or I want to succeed. Get specific. If confidence is your goal, picture yourself walking into a room, shoulders back, voice steady, presence undeniable. If your dream is a thriving business, see yourself running a meeting, leading your team, enjoying that first coffee as the sun rises over your office window. Your mind needs detailed images to build a path forward. Second, build a physical environment that mirrors your inner vision. Athletes do this instinctively. They cover their walls with quotes, photos of champions, symbols of their dreams. You can do the same. Change your phone wallpaper to something that motivates you. Keep a note on your mirror with your goal written boldly. Read content that fuels the mindset you want to live in. These visual cues reinforce your direction and keep you aligned. Because calm comes when you're not drifting. It comes when you know where you're headed. And success, it's rarely an accident. It's what happens when you keep your eyes, both real and imagined, fixed on the goal and walk toward it, step by step, with intention. Now, once you visualize the life you want, there's one more essential practice that helps you stay grounded, especially in stressful situations. Take a deep breath and let's explore how one single action can bring back your sense of control. Just as we explored how visualization can direct your life toward clarity and achievement, now we step into the next battlefield where calm becomes your greatest weapon, moments of confrontation. Because when emotions run high and stakes feel personal, the true test isn't how loud you can shout, but how steady you can breathe. In poker, the amateur gives everything away. You can see it in their restless hands, the twitch of an eye, the sweat forming on their brow. Every movement speaks of tension, of panic. But the professional, they sit still, unreadable. No flicker of emotion, no clue for their opponent to exploit. Because they know one golden rule, whether in poker or in life, the one who loses control loses the game. Now imagine the poker chips are gone and the table is replaced with a real-life argument. Someone challenges you. They raise their voice, poke at your insecurities, try to pull you into their emotional storm. If you bite, if you react impulsively, you've already handed them the win. But if you pause, if you breathe deeply and choose not to be baited, you take back the upper hand. Picture this. You're in the middle of a heated exchange. Your heart races, your face flushes, your thoughts pile up like a traffic jam of unspoken words, all demanding to be unleashed. You feel misjudged, accused, cornered. Every cell in your body urges you to snap, to defend, to retaliate. But stop right there. In that exact second, you're standing at a crossroads. One road leads to regret, the other to mastery. This is where Stoicism comes alive. It's not about staying silent to avoid embarrassment or pretending nothing matters. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. It's about becoming the kind of person Marcus Aurelius described: calm, yet determined, cheerful, yet steady, guided by reason instead of reaction. Because without that control, your mind turns from ally to adversary, dragging you into patterns that sabotage your peace and progress. So what do you do when stress flares up and your instincts scream louder than your judgment? You take control of the only thing still within your grasp, your breath. It might sound too simple, but consider this: when your breath is scattered, your thoughts follow. When you bring your breathing back under control, your mind aligns. That's why the 4-7-8 technique works so powerfully. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. It's like pulling your brain's emergency brake, resetting your entire nervous system before you spin out of control. And when someone lashes out at you, try this pause and ask yourself, is this really about me, or is it about pain they haven't healed? Often it has nothing to do with you. People are carrying invisible battles, and when they erupt, they want you to carry their burden too. But you have a choice. You don't have to join them in the chaos. Because here's the truth: the person who yells doesn't win. The person who keeps their composure does. That calm-centered stillness isn't weakness. It's power under pressure. And in that space between reaction and response, you gain something rare: control. So next time you feel your emotions rising, remember this: don't speak yet. Don't act. Just breathe. Then decide. Because real strength isn't found in the first reaction. It's found in the ability to wait, to think clearly, and to act with intention. And now let's take that inner control even further. What if the key to transforming your life isn't just in action, but in something we often avoid? Let's talk about silence, the kind that doesn't overwhelm, but reveals. After learning how silence can help us rediscover clarity amidst the noise, we now shift to another surprising source of calm, not in stillness, but in motion, through the simple act of using your hands. Let me tell you the story of a man who could never quite sit still. But not because he was anxious or fidgety. It was because his mind brimmed with relentless curiosity. He wasn't content to just observe the world from a distance. He needed to engage with it, to deconstruct it, to understand how it worked, not in theory, but through direct contact. He had to touch it, shape it, mold it with his own hands. This man would fill notebook after notebook with sketches. He designed machines that hadn't yet been imagined, studied human anatomy down to the smallest muscle, wrote tirelessly, and explored everything from flight to architecture. But here's the key: he didn't do all of this just to satisfy his curiosity. He did it because he understood a deeper truth. His mind found clarity when his hands were at work. Whenever he felt stuck, he reached for a pencil and started sketching. When his thoughts turned chaotic or confusing, he laid them out on paper, not as words, but as diagrams and blueprints. And when speaking wasn't enough, his hands became his voice. Because for him, thinking and doing weren't separate, they were one and the same. You've probably guessed it by now. That man was Leonardo da Vinci. And what he intuitively knew, modern science now confirms. Engaging your hands through drawing, writing, building, crafting doesn't just keep you busy. It calms the brain, refocuses your attention, and creates space for insights to emerge. There's something deeply grounding about using your hands. It pulls you out of the whirlwind in your head and into the present moment. You feel texture, shape, resistance, movement. You're no longer just thinking, you're participating. And in that participation, your mind begins to quiet. Thoughts untangle, stress fades, and clarity emerges, not through overthinking, but through doing. So if you're overwhelmed, anxious, or stuck in a loop of over-analysis, maybe the answer isn't another motivational quote or more thinking. Maybe it's grabbing a pen, folding paper, planting something, cooking, doodling, fixing, building. Your hands, after all, are one of the most overlooked tools for emotional and mental regulation. But this connection between movement and mindfulness goes even deeper, because there's something ancient, almost instinctive about using your body to reconnect with your thoughts. And in the next part of our journey, we'll see how physical movement, not just with your hands, but your whole body, can unlock a new level of calm and inner control. Ready to explore it? Let's keep going. Previously, we explored how Leonardo da Vinci found clarity, not by thinking harder, but by doing something simple, working with his hands. Now let's carry that lesson forward and see how you can turn action into calm, especially when everything around you feels like it's on fire. That was his secret. Leonardo didn't wait for clarity to magically appear. He created it with his own hands. Yes, he was a genius, but more importantly, he was someone who understood what many of us still overlook. When your mind is overwhelmed, the answer isn't to keep thinking, it's to start doing. And now I ask you the same question. What do you do when stress hijacks your thoughts? When ideas pile up, but none of them seem to make sense? When anxiety freezes you in place, Marcus Aurelius had a clear answer. He said, "Well-directed action brings peace to the mind." That's not just philosophy, it's a strategy. Imagine this. You're at work. Your inbox is overflowing. Your phone won't stop buzzing. A colleague needs something urgently, and you feel that tightness in your chest, that quickening heartbeat. Your brain starts racing, trying to solve everything at once. You want to stay calm, but instead you're swept away in the chaos. And in that exact moment, what you wish for more than anything is to be that kind of person who stays grounded under pressure, the one who doesn't panic, the one who leads, decides clearly, and moves forward, the kind of person who succeeds not because the world is calm, but because they are. But how do you become that person when your world is spinning out of control? Start by using your hands. I know it sounds odd. Your hands. Seriously. But hear me out. It works. Begin with just 10 minutes a day doing a simple, hands-on task. Draw, handwrite a journal entry. Cook something, fix a loose screw, water your plants. No, I'm not asking you to pull out a sketch pad in the middle of your office meltdown. This isn't about becoming an artist. It's about building a habit, carving out a small space in your day where your mind gets to breathe, where the noise fades and focus returns. Second, strip away the distractions. No multitasking, no buzzing phone, no music with lyrics. Just you, your hands, and the task. In that moment, as your fingers move and your focus narrows, your stress begins to dissolve, often without you even noticing. Your breath slows, your thoughts settle, and something shifts. Third, notice what happens after. Maybe your problems won't vanish, but I can promise you this, you'll have a bit more clarity than before. As if the mental storm has passed, leaving behind a quiet clearing. It's a kind of calm that no words can deliver, a peace that only simple action can create. So tell me, what will you do with your hands today to quiet your mind? Be bold, share it in the comments. Remember, calm isn't just the absence of chaos, it's your secret weapon. It helps you see clearly, act wisely, and move forward without letting stress dictate your every move. Each day you have the chance to train your mind to choose how you respond instead of being ruled by your environment. Don't wait for life to slow down. Real change happens when you find calm in the middle of the storm. When you stop draining energy on what's out of your control and start focusing on what's within your reach. And if you've stayed with us this far, I want you to comment below, "I choose calm to guide my success." That's how I'll know who the real Stoic warriors are, the ones who made it to the end. Before you go, remember to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and hit the like button so you won't miss what's coming next. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, check out the playlist appearing on your screen. It's filled with wisdom stories and practical tools to help you navigate life with clarity and strength. Until next time, take care and keep walking forward with your inner Stoic by your side.